Hey guys, I am Noonie, and this is a video discussing the WCS system. A lot of new details just came out about the 2014 system and how we're going to transition from 2013 to 2014. And I know Huck has already made a video, Idri's already written an article, there's a ton of discussion going on in the forums, and the hot topic mostly is region lock. What I want to talk about something different, something I haven't seen a lot of discussion about, but something that I think is important. And that's how they transition from one year to another. So they have a couple options when they're deciding this. They can do a so-called hard reset where they reset WCS points and there are no seeds, and the 2014 system has no memory of what happened in 2013. Everybody's equal, open qualifiers, repopulate Premier League, go from there. On the other end of the spectrum, they could just never reset it. WCS points stay, and instead of ever getting reset, they disappear after 3 seasons. And so it's just kind of an ongoing thing. And of course, you have seeds from one season to the next, and you wouldn't have an annual tournament. You would have a seasonal tournament like we had in 2013. And the participants in that seasonal tournament wouldn't be determined by Premier League, but would rather be determined by the rank points. And so what they actually decided on was something in between, where they say, all right, we're going to reset the WCS points, but we're going to seed people season to season as if it's just another season within a year, but we're going to do it between years. And I think already that doesn't make sense to do both of those things, to reset the points and yet seed people, because then you're saying there's no connection between these 2 years, but there's actually this huge connection for all these seeded players. They're getting a huge leg up on everybody else. So just right off the bat, it doesn't make sense. I think you either have to go all one way or all the other, or a lot closer to one way or a lot closer to the other. The way they've done it kind of right in the middle is not adding up. And to kind of communicate why I think this is so weird, I'm just going to talk a little bit back about where we were at in 2013 Season 3 Premier League. What was the discussion going on around that time? Well, players were trying to qualify for the grand finals. It was the beginning of the end for that scramble for the last WCS points that you could get and try to qualify for the grand finals. And so that's what was really going on. And that wasn't just the discussion and narrative of season 3. Really, the whole year was about getting WCS points. People would have their little victories, winning Premier Leagues and winning the seasonal world finals or whatever. But ultimately, in the back of our mind, we were being told, and we were always thinking about, this is all adding up. This is all a big system for ranking people according to their performances in 2013 so that they play a huge tournament at the end of it. And that's what we were thinking. And for the players that were out of the running at that point, they're still competing for the prize money in Premier League. So they were incentivized, and for the people that could still qualify, that was the big thing. And not only that, but if you could make top 5 and qualify for the seasonal world finals of season 3, that would be a big issue too. And that would get you in a tournament that's more prestigious, more competitive, has more prize money than the Premier League. So obviously you want to do that. And then more opportunity for WCS points. And then after that was the grand finals. And so this was the culmination of the whole year. We heard again and again during that grand finals, these players, this is a result of a whole year's worth of performances. These were the best performing players of 2013. We know this because we created this whole points and ranking system to determine it. And every single time 2 people played, we were told their ranks. And that was the whole narrative of the thing. And this was like the essence of the WCS system in 2013. And then we crowned a 2013 champion, SOS. So moving into 2014, they wanted to seed some players and give some players a leg up, have a little bit of continuity between the years. And so how do they do that? Well, forget the most recent, biggest, most important tournament ever, the grand finals, and forget the seasonal world finals. that was run right before that. They're going to go all the way back to the Premier League and even the Challenger League of Season 3. And that's going to be the most determining, or the most important determining factor for how you start 2014. Um, like, what? Why? We were being told one thing is so important that it's all important. We're being told this tournament was the tournament of the year. These players are the best players, and this guy is the champion. And for 2014, it just doesn't even matter at all. None of that matters. It was like a little bonus tournament that, if you do well in Premier League, it's like you're playing a video game and you find a hidden door and you go through, and it's this secret level with all this extra gold there. It's more challenging, but you go through it and it's fun and it's cool. You come out with extra gold, and then you just continue playing the game as normal. That's what the grand finals was, and that's how we all felt too. Like, we all know it. When it ended, we were like, okay, cool, you had this system and you had this narrative, but let's be real here. This was just another tournament. It was a very competitive tournament, and you got some good players here, but it wasn't the best players at that moment. And SOS is not the best player at this moment. He performed the best in this competition, but he's not the best at this moment, and he's certainly not the best player of 2013. So in the end, it's just another tournament, and that's how 2014 WCS is treating it. They're just ignoring it altogether. They're ignoring rank points altogether. So yeah, in that context, doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't feel right at all. But that's how they're doing it, and I think the problem they run into is, how are they going to seed according to rank points? How are they going to give SOS the best position? And there's no way to do it in their system. They've designed a system that has emphasized one thing as being the most important, the highest honor that you can get in the system. But then there's no way for you to use that for continuity into the next year. Not that we really even need that continuity, because let me tell you, I have 2 points to make on this as far as continuity goes. Continuity is important, okay, but here are the two things. One, WCS kind of emerged in the context of in a competitive environment where players were getting too many benefits for their previous successes. They were getting seeded and invited to too many things, and so you never know what one success at one tournament would actually mean. You thought it just meant that they won that tournament, won that prize money, but then that one performance would turn into an invitation to another tournament, which would turn into an invitation to another tournament. And yeah, they couldn't just lose out and keep getting these invites, so they kind of earned it, but it was also creating this barrier between currently successful players and people who are trying to break through. The 2011 MLG system was probably the worst with their pool play seeds. A lot of people that didn't deserve to be in pool play, myself included, got too many benefits from earlier performances that were good, but just they didn't deserve that many benefits. So yeah, the WCS system was supposed to be this like shining beacon of objectivity, a fresh chance for everybody. It was never going to favor anybody, but like every other system, it has just ended up favoring its past well-performing players. MLG got really bad in 2011 with their system, but when they started out in 2010, it was fair and equal to everyone. Everybody earned their beneficial spot for 2011. It was all fair from the start, but they started like rewarding from within, and anybody who hadn't participated from the start, or even if they did participate and they had an off tournament, well, all of a sudden they're now like out of the bubble. So WCS was supposed to be something that never partook in that kind of thing. And it's like, okay, if you want to have a year's worth of competition all connected, that's fine. But now you're going to connect the years to each other. And this is not an insignificant connection, these seeds. These are significant. So yeah, I think that's bad. And then the other thing that I think is bad about it is they don't. It's not even necessary because what do they want? They want continuity. They want some of their players that they've invested in. They've done, video, like special video segments on, interviews on. They've built their popularity and their personality over a whole year's worth of competition. They want some of those guys back to keep some of that going. Well, look, Huck made a video about how these players that are being seeded are so good that even against Premier League level competition and Challenger match level competition, these guys are almost never going to lose. And so, what's the harm in having them play qualifier level competition in order to earn their spot back and to prove themselves again? Doesn't seem that bad. My point is that they're so dominant that you don't need to give them any handouts, that the ones that so many of them deserve to be there, that you should just make them prove it and show it and not just give them these seeds. That'll enhance the storylines because then your competition looks more legitimate. They get to have their cake and eat it too, is what I'm saying. They get the best of both worlds because it's still going to remain pretty static, which is how the more static it is, the more they can benefit from everything that they've done before. But they want it to be fluid enough, and they also want to keep their integrity as a tournament, so they need to put them through the motions. And luckily for them, these players are so good and so dominant that it's going to allow them to just have the best of everything. So yeah, I think the continuity is good, but it's the way that they're going about this is really kind of nonsense. And just to prove it from even another angle, let me remind you of this new rule that they have for non-WCS tournaments. Let's say you're running a tournament and you want to give the top 16 players WCS points, and it's only going to be a 16-man tournament. Well, that's not allowed. WCS doesn't want players to just show up and lose out every single game that they play at a tournament and still get WCS points for losing. So they've made a new rule that everybody always has to win at least one round, at least one match in order to earn WCS points. So if you want to give out points to the top 16, you need a 32-man tournament. Great rule. I think everybody likes it. It's good. It's a nice principle to abide by. WCS doesn't abide by it. They're above their own rules. Look, a person that got top 8 in Season 3 2013 Premier League, they're going to be seeded into Premier League Season 1 2014. And so they can go 0-2-0-2 in Premier League. They could just roll their face on the keyboard. And by the way, these matches are going to be online. They don't have to even travel for them. And then they'll get kicked down to Challenger League. And in Season 2, they can just roll their face on the keyboard. Again, an online match. They can go 0-3. And for all of their trouble for going 0-7 in games, Blizzard's going to say, hey, great job. Here's a check for $2,600. And by the way, we gave you 150 WCS points for your performance. Why is a 2013 WCS performance giving so many rewards in WCS 2014? Doesn't make sense. And it contradicts their own principle that they're giving to other tournaments. They should require everybody to play at least one match to break into the prize pool bubble, to break into the WCS points bubble. I mean, it's absurd to not require people to win at least one match. You can seed them past the open qualifiers, but so they don't have to play a bunch of scrubs or whatever. But if you're gonna seed, for example, 1st through 32nd from last year, then they should at least have to beat the 33rd through 64th best that came up through qualifiers or whatever, just to prove that they earned those seeds, something like that. The details of such a system could be worked out, but in principle, I think it's something they kind of ought to do. They should require it of themselves. And again, the absurdity is that I don't even know what benefit they're getting from seeding players. It's not even necessary. I think they would be better off from not seeding players at all. Uh, story wise, narrative wise, continuity wise, I think they would be perfectly fine, even in better shape. So those are my thoughts, and I just want to end the video by talking a little bit more about the well, because look, you're listening to this video and you're saying, hey, Nooney, you're a guy who has nothing going into 2014. You're going to have to start from the qualifiers. You're starting from scratch, and you're just mad because these other people are getting a leg up, and you feel that's not fair. Not true. I actually think these points stand for themselves. And in fact, that's so not true that I'm actually for the opposite end of the spectrum. I don't even think the hard reset once a year competition cycle is good for our competitive scene. I would rather have the no reset system. I would rather have the 3 seasonal finals, no annual finals, and just an ongoing thing, and with seeds between every season, and a new player just has to break in and work their way up. I think that system is pretty cool. I think it makes a meaningful ranking system that's constantly there. Because look, the ranking system for WCS points last year for 2013, it was only meaningful right at the end. The whole like first and second seasons, people were like, yeah, people are accumulating points, but we're not going to really be able to figure this out until it's getting toward the end, and only then will it get exciting and meaningful. So yeah, if you had a constantly ongoing thing, every single tournament that involved WCS points would be meaningful. People would constantly be calculating the people on the bubble, and then you could really, and I think Blizzard doesn't like looking back to the roots of StarCraft competition, how Brood War did it with OSL and MSL, they just had these seasons going on constantly. And I think Blizzard wants something a little more than that, a narrative to like cap even that. And I think the point system is a great way to do it. But I think you should keep the seasonal play like that, and then have the ongoing point system, not a yearly reset point system. And then you can just cap off each season of tournaments with one extra tournament for the top 16 currently ranked players. And then you have a definitive way of saying this guy has been top 5 ranked for 2 years now. He's insanely good. That's measurable consistency. Or how then we can have this whole a thing, where like tennis has and golf has, where you're saying this guy held the #1 spot for this many weeks. That's the record or whatever. We could get that going for StarCraft. And then, so that would be the discussion at the top of the rankings. And at the bubble, at the 16th, 17th spot, there would always be a discussion of, who's going to fall out of that ever important 16th spot, who's up and coming, and that kind of thing. And when someone finally drops out of the top 16, that's like the end of an era for a certain player. Or how fast does somebody come up and get into the top 16 for the first time? These would be storylines that are constantly going on. And so you would have like strong rooted storylines from the mainstay players, but you would also have these dynamic storylines constantly going on. And I feel like that would be the best system. And I know exactly why Blizzard would be reluctant to do it. And I think, I'm pretty sure, I know 99%. The reason is other games have these huge blowout tournaments, the international and LCS World Finals at the Staples Center, and there's no way Blizzard could match that 3 times a year. It's hard enough, for our smaller community game to get something even remotely comparable once a year. And so if we have 3 equally important finals, tournaments a year, then there's no way we can ever have like as big of a stage, as big as a venue or whatever. But But look, I think that's the nature of our competition. I think that's what works, and I think um, it would give us something unique, that constant ranking. I think it would be really cool. And if I was in charge, I would be pushing for that system so hard, and I would just be waiting for someone to prove me wrong that it would be terrible. And if nobody could come close to saying this would absolutely be terrible, then that's what we would do just instantly because it would be so cool. But that's just me. Those are my thoughts, and just think about these things. Maybe for 2015, some of my ideas could be possible. Um, but yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you guys all enjoy WCS. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be fun. It's not perfect yet, but it's a pretty cool system. I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm going to try really hard to do well in 2014. So I'm excited. I'm happy it exists. All right. See you guys later.